So how are you finding working from both in the UK and in Egypt? Is it just something you just want to be in Egypt, or have you just built it to a stage now where you can just be wherever you want?
Well, it's just warmer. It's just warmer, man. The winter sucks here. Like too long of a winter without any breaks is just not good for the soul, you know. So
Nah.
I needed to. I just I've made that like one of my things that I've kind of built into my life is to press the eject button once winter comes as
Yeah.
much as possible. That was a big driver for me when I was building Perea, and you know, it's just like why not? You know, because everyone, we all complain in the winter, we all hate it. Everyone hates it. You know, why not? So I can now, and that's kind of last year I went to Morocco in January with Izzy, and it was like one of those eureka moments where I was like, hold on a minute, what the fuck? January? So yeah, we'll definitely keep doing that.
Do you reckon that's like a seasonal affectiveness disorder, isn't it? Is
Yeah.
it, or SAD as it's called? I never had that
Yeah.
much when I was younger. But like, I don't know. I think it was when I finished school, when I finished sixth form college,
Right.
and I was like actually working up early, doing something I didn't want to do
Yeah.
in those just cold, dark mornings, and you're getting back. You get up, it's cold, it's dark. You get back, it's cold, it's dark, and you can't do anything. And it's like, there's
Mm,
got to be more to this. There's just got
mm.
to be more to it.
Imagine living in fucking like Sweden, or
Yeah.
North Canada. You'd be in a bad way.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it just like a UK? Is it? Do you reckon it's something like more of a modern thing with how we've always set up now, where we
Fair
just
question. Yeah.
all take pictures of we take pictures of our holidays. We see people who are on their holidays for Instagram, social media, and everything, and it's just we're just constantly bombarded with these things and memories of when we were in the sun enjoying ourselves. And now
Yeah.
every other day just feels like, it's not quite
Yeah. 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 Maybe, man. I mean,
that.
yeah. Because I don't know how long we've lived in that far north, like for how many thousands of years, but you know, I just like because if you're like proper north, or proper south, to be fair as well, like
Mm.
Patagonia, I'm sure suffers with this, but the sun isn't going down for certain parts. Like it's just not going down, and equally, it's not coming up. Like that's grim. That
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah, it's tough. It is tough. Like, obviously, I'm in Sydney now, and it's just glorious weather all the time. And it seems that only now that everyone's seen on different podcasts and different scientists are doing the research into sun exposure and the actual chemical changes that has for your body and your brain. It's like,
Mm, mm,
holy shit. Yeah, people, we
yeah,
just never had that for so long. And it's just almost
yeah,
ingrained into us. Like, the British just tend to be miserable as a stereotype that we seem to be proud of for some reason. It's like,
yeah.
oh,
We
is it?
join
Are
you
we
on
just
that.
miserable?
We join you on that, man. I love complaining.
It makes you feel good, doesn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
now coming out here. I was speaking to there's loads of Brits out here as well, so I'm kind of like the same thing. Everyone always says is that it's amazing. You just wish you could bring the people with you because you just miss
Hmm.
having that British culture, having the British people around you, having
Hmm.
that chat.
Yeah, I found that when I was in Melbourne as well. I was like, Jesus, the only thing this is missing is just everyone else.
Hmm. How long were you in Melbourne for? When was that?
2 years, from August 2019 to September 2021.
Oh, no, Melbourne the whole time.
Yeah,
Wait, throughout COVID.
yeah.
How was it out here during COVID? Did you feel like you hit the jackpot?
D-
Just managed to
d-
get out of the UK?
oh man, did you not hear about Melbourne?
No? What?
Melbourne's. I'm pretty sure now. I don't want to like. You can fact check me on this, but Melbourne was the most locked down city of the entire pandemic per
Oh,
days.
what?
Hmm.
So what do you mean
It
by
was
the
just
most
Victoria, man.
lockdown?
Victoria got like the rest. The rest of the states, like New South Wales, like WA didn't
Mm,
even have a pandemic. They were good. I think they got locked down for a few
yeah.
days and that was it. But Victoria got bombarded. Every leak, every hotel outbreak was in Victoria. All and as you may or may not know, they would just lock us down on a day's notice with with the news of one or two cases. They'd then say, "All right, well, everyone's get back in," and we'd be like, "Oh, are you fucking kid?" Like, we've just got maybe like a couple of times we'd just been released a couple of weeks earlier, and then another case would get found, like one, two cases. I'm talking about like single digits,
mm.
and then they'd throw us back in. But yeah, it was pretty
What?
brutal. I just
That's
realized we're
insane.
recording. Are we recording? Are we live?
Yes, yeah, yeah. Sorry,
Fuck
I
yeah.
didn't explain. I didn't explain beforehand. I mean, I told you briefly before. It's a conversation, it's a chat. It's not. I don't want to be an interview. The clips that we could possibly get from this, I can cut bits out anyway. I want
Yeah,
people to be able to
fucking fuck
see
yeah. Let's go.
you how you are normally, and not just you answering questions, which I feel like you've had a million times before.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Yeah.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, I had no idea about that because it was. How can a whole country just be so divided on how they approach a pandemic? Where like Western Australia just leaves it completely. And it's got to suck for you coming out
Well,
doing,
yeah.
I don't know
So
how old you were then, but it was,
I was 28 at that time, 27, 28. But WA, it was more so that they didn't have any cases. They just had their hotel quarantine taken care of. Whereas it
mm,
seemed as if the like Victorian hospitals, or sorry, hotels, I should say, they're just outbreaks, man. There was just like, oh, there's a case found, and I'm talking, the distance between, let's say, London and Newcastle. It's like, yeah, there's
yeah.
a case found up in Newcastle, so we're going to lock London down.
Oh
And
my God.
it was and as somebody who was in London or Melbourne in that case, it was just so hard, man, because you would think that uh, you just you had these hopes that they were just going to get it sorted, and the lockdowns were brutal because I don't know if you realize what was like over there, but you had to wear a mask outside. You couldn't walk around outside without a mask, and if you did, you got fined $1,500.
They're crazy on the fines out here, aren't they, as well? They don't mess
Crazy, man.
around and they
Yeah,
will
yeah,
charge you and there's no way to get out of it.
yeah.
That's
What do
got
you
to
think of the
suck
news?
so
What do you think of
bad.
the news channels over there? Do you ever get a whiff of them?
This is so weird. I don't watch much TV and I'll catch a bit of like Nine News every now and then, like, as it just comes on
That one.
automatically when you put the app on. It's like local news, but for the whole country. I
Hmm.
do like the reporters though, because the reporters, I think everyone should take a leaf out of their page out of their book. They just kind of say it as it is. If the person they're interviewing is chatting shit, they'd be like, "Oh, come on, mate, you don't really believe that, do you?"
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
It's good though. It's different for sure, but it's like like I said, if I always keep saying, I keep saying like, almost to everyone who asks about the UK versus Australia, it's like Australia is everything the UK wishes it was. Quite simply that. So if we had that weather, if we had those beaches, the UK would be like perfect, best place on earth.
Yeah,
But we don't
yeah.
have it.
That was one of the things I used to say when I lived over there was I wish this was where like Barcelona is.
Yeah.
So I just didn't have to live on fucking Mars in order to get this lifestyle.
Yeah, because people don't leave here. It's so far to get anywhere else on holiday. And then they've got some of the best beaches in the entire world that it's
Mhm.
like there's no real. They might go to Bali or something just to go on like the cheaper holidays, get away, get things catered for them because it's so expensive here. But it just, there's no real need to go. Like there's such a divide between people who live in the CBD in the
Mm.
city versus people who live on the beach, where it's,
Oh yeah,
I
right.
feel, I feel like
Really?
that's why people, well, not so much a divide, like an aggressive divide, but
Different
people
type of
kind of
people,
get,
different type of clientele maybe?
yeah, for sure. It's like how you kind of have to abide by a certain way of life in any other country. But when people get to our age, or they get to that age where they just start deciding what they want to do, and they start to get a real kick up the arse and see how hard it is to achieve what they want to do, I feel a
Right.
lot of people over here just check out. And it's like, Nah,
Mm,
don't need to. Like they get the
yeah.
surf, they've got enough to get by, they get a great weather. They'll
Mm,
work as little as they can, often, and
mm,
I think that's why, like over here, especially things like within construction, certain industries pay 3 or 4 times more for
mm.
lower levels within the industry out here than they do versus the UK.
Wait, you're saying they pay less?
They pay
I thought
more
they
out
paid.
here.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Sorry, I thought you were saying they paid less. I was
Right.
like, yeah, yeah. Trade like the trades get paid so much more. Doctors do as well. Nurses.
It's because people who
Yeah.
are born here don't actually want to. They don't feel the need to do it, and I can see that happening. If I was right on the beach every day, don't you know I'd be there instead of grinding at the computer long days. Like in the UK or anywhere it's miserable, or you're in the city, you can't go anywhere or can't afford to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, just get it grind away so you can spend that time in Morocco or in Egypt free diving. Over here, it's
Yeah.
like maybe they don't need to.
Yeah, I think we have this thing in our mind that when we're 30, we're gonna be like extremely wealthy and have our lives quote unquote figured out. And are you 30?
I'm 26.
26. I'm
Yeah,
32 now, and
foreskin
like
car.
sorry, I thought you said our age, so I thought you were same as me. But it's like it's such a younger age than you think it is as a kid. When you're like 14, a 30-year-old is like ancient.
Yeah,
And then
when you
when
when
you
you're
get to 30, you're
13,
like, well,
you look at the year 11s in the school, and it's like they look like adults,
mm,
and they seem so much older than you. But yeah, exactly what
yeah,
you're saying.
yeah, because they've got some facial hair.
It
Yeah,
is daunting.
yeah, yeah, it
So like
is.
you say, I was the same. It was if you feel like you should have things figured out by a certain age, and then when you realize that those things you wanted take a lot of time, effort, and development, and that kind of
Mm.
readjusts your sails naturally to where you end up being.
Yeah, I kind of just when I saw people who were older than me when I was a kid, when I was like 15, 16, whatever, and I saw an older person, and this is like somebody who maybe has a child or a house, they're an adult, they have a job and shit, right? I'd always just presume that they're like super wealthy and like have hundreds of thousands in the bank um on tap. And the reality is like, they probably weren't. Like most of my aunts, uncles, or like friends of family or people that I would have seen as adults, like probably weren't like fucking raking in cash, and like we're just kind of, you know, doing grand, I guess. And I think
Mm.
I don't know. I was chatting about this to somebody the other day about how you overestimate how much adults have their shit together when you're a kid.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's good acting, good acting on their
Yeah, yeah,
behalf.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
yeah, I get that. It's definitely changed my approach to it, and I think that's why we both do similar things with the podcast and what we want. It's like I got that sense quite early on when trying to decide what I wanted to do that if getting my shit together in terms of what everyone else thinks means doing these certain things, I feel like that's not going to lead to the most life satisfaction
What do you
either
mean?
now. So I mean, like, I enjoy doing like that work worth doing, like your podcast special does it amazingly. It's something that sticks out to you that's you care about,
Mhm.
that you want to do, and it's worth doing for you.
Sure.
Those things in particular I feel for me anyway from my journey. I'd love for you to correct me and show me, guide me how to get to where I want to be with it. But those things in particular, the result horizon seems a lot further away than the more standardized school, university, base level job, work your way up.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that's true, man. And to your point, is something you said a few minutes ago about like the people who are on the beach and they're kind of just living the way they want to live. And I think I was chatting to Izzy about this a couple of days ago, where we were saying how the I can't remember. I read it. I wrote it down, but it was basically how everything in your life is priming you towards that sort of journey, that linear path of, like you said, everything, especially when you're pre 18,
Mm.
everything in your life is gearing you towards getting a piece of paper. Everything is
Yeah.
about that in school. Everything, man. Our whole build up here. Every time you chat to your aunts and uncles, it's like, oh, how are you doing in school? Like, oh, you get a good grades and blah 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 blah. And I don't know how you feel about this, but post uni, I've since realized just how much that hasn't really impacted my life at all. Right. And it's
Yeah.
kind of just set me up to get a job. And nobody ever really asked me beforehand if I wanted a job, if I wanted that type of job.
Just wanted a
And
job. Do you actually want to
you,
work?
you know what I mean? Like, I think
Yeah.
all this priming, it never really gave consideration to what I want. And I'm not saying like I was hard done by or anything. You know, everyone had a great upbringing. Um, but the point of it is that that doesn't really leave space for you to like actually think about, right, well, how do I really want to spend my time? Because all that is priming you towards working for someone else and just being a cog in a machine, right? And I'm not like going to get into conspiracy theories or anything, but like it is that kind of is what that is for. It's a machine that just kind of spits out people who go
You
with
know,
a pen and
it's
a
funny you
piece of
mentioned that.
paper, and then you go and
Um,
get a job for someone else, and you just like go and be an employee, and that's great. And you know, if you want to do that, fine. But my point is that the majority of people, if you actually gave them space to think about it, probably wouldn't. And maybe they might want to go and live in Sydney and live on the beach and surf a little bit more and just have a cafe job. But maybe that's what they actually would want to spend their time. Maybe they'd want to start a
yeah.
podcast, you know? And it doesn't leave space for that, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. Like it is funny you mentioned that because I did one episode with Adam from Trying to Adult, who you spoke with recently, the other
Oh, did
day.
you?
Yeah, I did, yeah. The file
Adam's a legend.
corrupts, so he is a legend. The file corrupts, so I had a great conversation for my own benefit, but the
No.
people won't get to see it, unfortunately,
Oh, man.
which is annoying. But I mentioned
That
something
hasn't
to
happened to
him.
me yet.
Oh no, I was gutted. I was really gutted. It's a really good episode as well. He's a very
Oh,
insightful guy.
fuck.
But it was we got into the conspiracy theories a little bit there with the media and more sort of traditional media and movies and that quote unquote sort of American dream style of thing,
Mm-hmm.
where like what you've just said with when you're younger, the whole thing is geared towards you getting that piece of paper and getting into that cog in the machine. That kind of American dream and that ethos of work your hardest so you can effectively have more than everyone else. It's so
Mm.
ingrained in us. It's ingrained into us from such a young age. And only now can I sort of see how that's affecting younger people. And that
Yeah.
was definitely still in play when I was younger and I didn't realize
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And nobody could have told me any differently, being a stupid, naive young kid.
Yeah.
And no one's going to tell them any differently. But it's that, it almost seems like when you can break away from that, then you've got that freedom to at least choose what you want to do and try
Mm.
out new things.
Yeah, because there's so much pressure back then as well. Like when you're younger, excuse me, everyone around you is doing that. And so naturally, why would you think any differently? Why would you start thinking at 16, should I start a podcast? You know, everyone's just doing the school thing and getting grades and like being like, all right, what do I want to do in university? Ah, this is so much pressure. Ah. And in reality, most of the people who go through that will reinvent themselves 5, 6 times over throughout their life. You know,
Yeah, definitely.
you and I will probably have 2 or 3 more awakenings where we maybe change gears or what, especially like what I'm starting to realize with like my business and my podcast is that, you know, what things start out as is not very often what they end up as. What I mean by that is they change over time. Actually, no, sorry, you change over time. You change. And then so it's rarely all right. So, for example, I was talking to somebody the other day and she was telling me she was in her 6th year of medicine in uni. And I was just kind of curious about like what was going through her head when she wanted to do that. Because I think being a doctor, like a lot of like my parents would have said like, oh, you should be a doctor. It's great. It's amazing and stuff like that. It's good pay. You know, you get paid well. And
Mm.
I don't I wonder how many people who are doing the 6, 7, or 25 years of med school actually want the life of a doctor? Do you know? When they get out and then they're like, they're spat out the other side, they've dedicated like half their life to it, and then they're like, shit, I'm doing this now, and I'm just like in, like, let's face it, it's chaotic, being a
Yeah.
doctor.
Could be
And I just wonder
potentially
how many,
damaging as well.
yeah.
So
And how
mentally fatiguing, tiring, and just traumatizing.
imagine how hard it would be to turn around and do something else.
Yeah, that I see. I always had this fear when I was a bit younger. Not so much now, but one of the reasons I feel I didn't go to university is because I feel like that would trap me into a certain channel. If that makes sense.
Mm.
I kind of got a sense that if I were to
Wait, so
do this now,
you didn't go to uni?
I didn't go to uni. No,
Ah, okay, right.
I I didn't go to uni because for what I'm saying now is that I didn't particularly know what I wanted to do,
Sure.
and b I kind of thought that this is what I think it's going to be like. I have no idea what it's actually going to be like when I started, when I actually finished work and university and got into it. So it was kind of, do I just jump into university now at something that I like the idea of in hope that I want to do it afterwards? Or do I wait a little bit and then decide, once I have a better idea of what I want to do, then go into uni and go that way? So I decided to put it off a few years, a bit of traveling, do some other stuff, and then just never got the urge to want to go back to uni. So whether it's for the better
It's
or
a
not, I
brave
don't know. But it
move.
was
Did you get a lot of heat for that?
no. So I was fortunate or not fortunate enough. My parents, were big influences on my life. They didn't go to university either. My dad started his own business when he was younger, and so
Nice.
he started his business um this just before he had me, well, just before I was conceived. I'm his oldest son. Started it with my mum in graphic design printing. So
No
that's like been
way.
a constant idea throughout my whole life. Is that right? You do kind of do your own thing, and you work and work to
No way.
do stuff for yourself, and no one's going to hand you anything.
No
So that
way. I
was,
love that.
they said to me, is that if you want to go, great, we'll support you. If you don't want to go, great, we'll support you. If you want to go, my dad's exact words beforehand were, if you want to just go to Australia and drop a bunch of acid on the beach, go right ahead. I'll pay for your plane ticket.
And here you are.
So yeah, and here I am. No, but it was very much like you. It was kind of daunting at the same time. I didn't have that pressure to be pushed in a certain direction, but that
Were all your
I feel
mates going
also
to
has
uni?
its. Yeah, they all went to uni, and then I also got to see a lot of them drop out of uni, and I saw a lot of them graduate uni
Wow.
and not do anything related to their university degree. So
Isn't it?
it's just, yeah, you don't realize the what's to come at all at that age, and it's such a pivotal moment. I feel it's it's almost
Yeah.
like they want you to go right there and then at 18 years old, because
Mm.
if they let you to wait and fester on the decision a little bit, and you're going to change your mind and not do it, and they can't have that. It doesn't work with their system.
Mm. You know what, right, man? If I was president of the world, I would change I would change it so we could help younger kids in the bracket of, let's say, 15 to 18, those 3 4 years when you're coming off to the tail end of school and looking ahead at like this big life that you've got to figure out. I
Mm.
think instead, because you're kind of only taught to retain information, right? It's like
Yeah.
memorize this, regurgitate it on piece of paper, receive other piece of paper, and then move on with rest of life. Whereas I would instead try and put a focus on teaching. I would have preferred to been taught how to think for myself, how to be inquisitive, how to be curious, how to make a decision. I wasn't taught how to make a decision. I wasn't taught how to learn, and
Mm.
I think some more of those fundamentals, rather than be like, hey, learn this. This is what you need to remember. Remember this. Instead, to ask more questions. Did I explain that well?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I've heard a couple of people who are now starting their own kind of schools, where they're
Mm,
teaching these kids how to sort of run their own property businesses and Airbnb businesses. from a young age, that they're teaching them these skills that are
Shut up,
useful to
really?
them. Yeah, I can't think of the name now, but he was on a different podcast I listened to, and he explained he started this school to teach people exactly that. And it went
Yeah.
further than just parents paying their kids to go to do these things. They also vet the parents to make sure that they're
No way.
instilling similar kind of ideas. But I've never quite understood how you teach to learn, or how you learn how to learn. I completely agree that we are very often taught to just almost parrot things, parrot information back and forth, and remember this, retain this, just for this purpose, and then it's gone. As you don't see how it's useful to you. How would you begin to get better at learning as opposed to just retaining information?
Great question. And I, how I would do it. Okay, I think I'm going to explain what I would have benefited more from is encouragement to ask questions and not to try and just hear a piece of information and memorize it, which is what it was. I think that that format removes true understanding. And I think understanding
Mm,
comes from more of an inquisitive and curious approach to everything that is sent your way. So whether it's information from books, it's like asking what is this? Why am I learning this? Or what is this about? And then doing that not only for external information, but for your own motivations. Why am I doing this? Why am I spending 6 years going embarking on this course? Is this really
mm.
how I want to tee up the rest of my life? Just asking inquisitive questions that force you to really think about things. Because I think if I think back to school, it didn't really make me think. It made me memorize. Do you know what I mean? I think it's a important
Yeah.
distinction.
Did your teachers do this thing, especially later on through like your GCSEs or A levels, where they were just kind of teaching you how to answer the question
Yeah,
so you could get the most marks?
yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
what the fuck
fucked
is
up.
that?
It is,
How is that
yeah.
prepping me for anything?
It doesn't at
When am I
all.
going to
It's
use that? When in
so
life have you needed to use like a memory, like to just regurgitate information to someone? Maybe if you're doing a presentation or whatever, fair enough. But like day to day, like what really helps me day to day is a clear mind, being able to
mm,
focus on the right thing, being able to determine where I should and shouldn't put my attention. Those are the kinds of things that
mm.
really help me move the needle of business, of life, of making decisions that are genuinely right for me and not just a decision that I feel pressured to make.
So when did you start to figure that out for yourself? When you started to figure out that, okay, my attention, my focus, my clarity is truly driving the needle?
I think it's probably a process, to be honest, to try to start to think that way. But if I was to pinpoint one turning point, it would be leaving sales and starting my own business. Because as I've mentioned on my own podcast, I left sales because I stumbled into it, didn't know why I was doing it, but it paid so well that I just stuck it out for 8 years. And I had a good
Mm.
life and everything was good. And, you know, I loved my time there and I loved the people I worked with, but it just wasn't serving me. It wasn't nourishing me. I just felt like I was in the wrong place. And when I changed from that I, and started to earn my own money online on a laptop where I can do it from anywhere, my whole perspective on life, and I know it sounds a bit dramatic, but it really did change because I was like, wait, the whole time I was just kind of pandering to someone else, to the man, so to speak, to a company and just, yes, please, can I have some holidays? Please, can I, do this and do that? And I, I just kind of realized, wait, I can be completely independent, self sufficient. And it just changed my whole way of thinking because up until that point, I was always just kind of scrambling, I think, when I was making life decisions. It was always kind of based out of oh well, I have to do this because everyone else is doing it in the first instance, and then, oh well, I have to do this to get money. I need to get money. That's why we all get a job when we like fall out of uni and we're like, fuck, what do we do now? I got a job then, and it just kind of snowballed, and I never really stopped to ask myself, wait, how do I really want to spend my fucking time here? What is this? Is this what I do forever? And so when I think a couple of years into earning my own money and having my own business that I've now automated maybe to 98, 99% of its operations, which is great. That's great for me because that's why I've chosen that path, is because I want time, time to focus on things I do want, and I want that to be a vehicle to support me. And I'm thinking of money as a vehicle, to do that. And I just I never thought that way before. I always thought that, like we said earlier, that was just the path you had to take. Just do all that, get job, crack on. But had I been asking the right questions of myself earlier, I might have maybe made that leap earlier. But this is my journey, and this is I figured it out when I meant to.
Yeah, mate, it's worked out for the better for yourself, and that kind of snowballs and snowballs, and it's exciting to see what you'll get up to next. But it's always interests me when speaking to people who've made that leap, how long that transition period took, and how much you needed to big yourself up ready for that moment. Because I've
Hmm.
heard some people, it's just a kind of a straight into it, like the balls rolling, it kind of taken away for that whirlwind of a ride. Other
Yeah.
people, it's taken a long time of researching, studying, building their confidence up before diving in. Was
Yeah.
that the case for you? Which one was it?
I'm by nature, for good, better or for worse, very impulsive, and so the pain I was experiencing of being lingering in a sales role for longer than I should have was enough to make me bite at the first opportunity. And the first opportunity was an event that I went to, which I then subsequently bought a course and a mentorship into how to build a specific type of property business using a specific type of strategy where you don't need to own the properties, basically. And so, in essence, to your question, like, there was no prep for me. It was just like, I know I don't want to do this. I'm willing to do anything. How do I get? How can I earn alternative money, basically? And I think that's the so now, fast forward, that was in 2022. It's like 3 years ago. Um, I've obviously came at this with a fairly um strong degree of business and sales acumen from being in sales. So I kind of came at it like, I was kind of primed for business anyway. And as I've built this and scaled it and automated it in a shorter time than a lot of the students who went through the business course went through, like, a lot of people don't make it, to be honest. And I'm not saying that as a pat on the back for me. It's more so just that it is hard, man. It's a difficult thing to do. But if done right in any business, and if commitment is there, you can do it. And that's what I try and do now. I try and help people to realize that inside their brain, they've got skills, they've got strengths that they can use to start a business where they provide a service to someone. It's at its core, it's very simple. People need what's inside your brain. They're willing to pay for what's inside your brain, be it knowledge, expertise, um, wisdom you have on a specific subject. Like, you can monetize what's in your brain. Like, as a first business. When I talk to people about doing a business, the only main goal I talk to people about is just like, all you really should be thinking about in the first instance is just like, how do you just chop off that 9 to 5 income you have? Don't worry about how, if you can scale to millions and millions. Like, I mean, great, if you want to think about that, fine, but most people aren't there yet. If you're in a 9 to 5, you're not there yet. If you were thinking about scaling a business to millions, you would have done it already. Do you know what I mean? So if
Mm.
you're in a 9 to 5, you're not going to have had that thought process yet. Very unlikely. And what you probably will have is just an urge to replace that income that you have. And so everything that I like kind of help people with is just geared towards that. So, like, how can you get let's say 10 clients, build a business, set up the systems, understand the chaos of business, and go through that and feel it and experience it, and then be spat out the other side 12, 18 months later, and be able to go yourself. And so I one of the things, just to go back to what you were saying, is like, I try not to spend too much time in the priming phase, because it takes, and I realize I'm rambling here, but I hope
No, by all
I
means.
hope I still got you. But the it doesn't require all that much planning. And what I mean by that is, through, like, going back to what I said earlier, through like being inquisitive and looking inwards and realizing what you already have. I reckon over 90% of people could just start a business with what is already in their head, without needing to buy a course on a new strategy or a new way to trade forex and buy all this. It doesn't, you don't need to do that. It's actually at its core far more simple. Figure out what you've already got, package it up, and sell it to someone. And provide a good
Mm.
service, bring in clients that you can work with long term, and you've got a business there, and then you can work towards quitting your job. And I've done that already with people that I'm building out, like the coaching program that I'm doing. And it's not, I'm not like, I do help people to get into property specifically, but what I'm doing at the moment is a coaching program to teach sort of the fundamentals of a business, and to extract what is in someone's mind already through, like I said earlier, like questioning and being inquisitive, and um, then using my expertise, which is, I know how to build a business, I know how to get clients, I know how to systemize, I know how to automate, I know how to do my fucking accounts, all that shit that you don't think of when you see a fucking passive income course online, all that really, really boring shit, I can help someone with, and just get them on their way and teach them how to fish. And again, just to round all of this off, the thing that I say at the beginning is, don't overcomplicate it. Don't spend years in the planning phase. You are not trying to land on the moon here. You're just trying to get a little business going, earn a few bob, and then quit your job. So, to answer your question, no, not don't plan too long. Just do it.
That
Just do it and fumble around.
Yeah, because I read a lot of business esque books and psychology books when I was younger. And I wanted to go into entrepreneurship. I always wanted to. Always had different projects and business I was doing on the side. And I feel like one of those first biggest hurdles being when people start to realize, a, what do they actually want to do every day for their lives? Like you've already mentioned, what do you want to do? What do you want to your life to look like day to day? But then B, having once you've got that idea of what you would enjoy doing every day, not just necessarily what you were good at, but what you enjoy doing at the same time. But then also having just getting from 0 to 1,
Yeah,
because that daunting section from, okay, you've quit your 9 to 5, that's
yeah,
out the window. You've taken that leap. You're now
yeah.
hyper alert and aware to all the things that are going around you, and it can feel very overwhelming and frustrating. Within your coaching you started now, how do you take people from that? Okay, they've got a root of an idea, they've got a seed of what they're passionate about and what they want to do. How do you go from there to, okay, now getting the first clients, getting those systems in place? Do you have a playbook? Is it kind of, is it a checklist? Is it in order? How would you take someone through that process?
So I help them uncover what's in there first initially, right? And then I'll get them to come to me and pitch me what they think their idea is. And I do that for a couple of reasons. One, to figure out if they obviously have a business idea, but two, to get them to think about it. I'm not gonna, like, this is what I said earlier about like how I would change the world if I was the president. I would just get everyone to think for themselves, because I had a great director in one of my sales roles, and he always used to prod me with questions. He would never tell me the answer. Never. Like, even if he knew it, even if it was the most basic thing, he'd think of a question. He'd think of a way to ask me a question so I could figure it out. And when we do that, things land in our brain a lot more. And so I'll get them to pitch it to me, and then I'll, like, obviously help them refine it, help them, like, make sure that they've got a good offer and that they can solve a good problem. Because that's all it is. You solve a problem for someone, you get paid. That's it at its core. Very simple. And after that, it's about, right, let's get clients. Let's get the first clients in the door. And my sales experience just like falls nicely into that. And I can, that was my bread and butter. I've done it thousands of times. So help them go through that process as well and teach them how to fish. Like, I'm not going to do it for them. I just want to teach them how to do it. Because now I realize, like, man, the idea of starting a business to me tomorrow is like, no, I wouldn't even think about it. I'll just like, yeah, let's go. Because I've done it now. Like that,
Yeah.
the 0 to 1 thing, right? It just doesn't even phase me. I'd be like, yeah, let's go. Come on. If it's a good idea.
Yeah, when you've got that in place and you know the structures behind it. I think that's where a lot of people get their anxiety from, behind taking those first steps. Myself, I had that for so long. It was a case of, I don't know if it's gonna work, and I feel a lot of people might just want the hand being to be held throughout that journey,
Yeah.
at least the
Yeah.
first time, so they can. It
Yeah.
is a scary thing, because it's when you I something that's worked for me in the past is, I love to try and boil down, okay, what is a want and what is a need for myself?
Hmm.
Like, truly, what do I need? And then be hyper serious about that. Say, I don't need this, and I don't need this, and don't need this. It's just a want. I haven't got to stress out about it, and I can treat it as a want, because the want comes from something I want. I mean, hopefully I'm going to enjoy or feel some sort of value from myself. And keeping that within business, when
Yeah.
starting a
And
business,
most
that's
people,
where it's.
sorry, I think I jumped over you, but I was going to say most
No,
people
sorry.
just kind of want to have their
Carry on. Carry
handheld.
on.
All good? Yeah.
Yes.
Most people
Carry
just
on.
want to have their hand held a little bit in the 0 to 1 phase. That's that's the most nerve-wracking part. And then once you get going, you realize, oh, hang on a minute, I can actually do this. What's going on? And so the, the you know, you hear probably a lot online, people talking about get a mentor, right? And I'm a big proponent of that, because I wouldn't have done this without being mentored and being a part of a group of other people who were doing what I was doing. And so what what I what I'm also providing to people is that mentoring aspect. And really, what at the core of mentoring, man, what it actually is, I'm not like drilling information down your throat. I'm not giving you all the answers. What I actually do, if you were to jump on a mentor call with me, I would just get you out of your own way. That's it. And I'd help you feel good about it. Because half the time, no, sorry, like above 95% of the time, it's not really information we need. It's just that we need to feel good about it. We need to believe we can do it. We need to walk away from a call feeling like, no shit, I can actually do this. And if you feel that way, you'll do it. Whereas if you feel doubt, which is what you can feel when you're alone and when you're going solo, that's when it's troublesome. But if you believe you can do it, 100% of the time, you are going to do it, because you just won't stop. And that's what mentoring is given to me, and that's what I want to give to other people who are just going from 0 to 1.
Yeah, it's having being able to sort of manipulate how our brains work in a way so that we've got that mentality. So some people just naturally are born with that one trap mind. I imagine. I see that
Exactly.
they can just keep going, shit thrown in the face. They can fall over. They'll get back up, dust
Yeah.
themselves off, clean
Yeah.
up, and they'll just keep
Yeah.
on going and see it for what it is. And I commend those people so much, because I feel like that's something a lot of people have when they're younger, and life
Yeah.
does just seem to keep on kicking you. So it becomes
This
very,
is it,
very
man.
hard not to just fall off the horse.
And a lot of those people that you just described there, they're probably already building a business. Do you know what I mean? It's
Mm.
it's the people who are like still at, let's say, the 0 to 1 analogy, still at 0. They're the ones that need to go through that and understand that. And when you understand that, as long as you just keep going, you can't lose. It's crazy, man. If you just keep going, you will never lose.
That's the saving grace. I feel like that's the one thing for me, in particular. It's the one thing I've seen, is that all anyone says, you hear this so much different information and different advice and different ways of doing things, and a lot of the time, most of these people aren't going to tell you the different ways or say that their way isn't the only way to do it, because that's how they make their money. if you read a book from someone that says to do this, or you're following somebody who says to get this course, they're going to get very persuasive about doing that because that's how they make their money. And they've figured that out for themselves. But when you've seen enough of them all saying either the same thing or different things, you come to realize, yeah, just keep going, keep going. And that you
Hmm.
hope that law of exponentiality will just keep on propelling you further and further. But that
Yeah. Yeah.
it's what can you do? What can you do to keep yourself going? That's having those group and those mentorships, like you say, that's a huge proponent. And that's something I feel isn't often available for a lot of people. So it's good that you're doing it yourself.
That's it, man. Community. If you have a community, if you're around other people, like, everyone says the law of you're the average of the five people that you spend the most time with. And it's true. If you're around people who are just going to the boozer and watching football every week, and it's going to be kind of challenging for you to build a business online and travel a lot because you're not influenced by the people that are around you in that way. Whereas if what I was doing when I was kind of coming up, for lack of a better term, was I was a part of that group mentoring that I was doing at that time. And man, that would give me so much energy when I went and spent a day. It was like a full day of mentoring in fucking Peterborough of all places. Um uh
Was
and
that Rob Moore?
when yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Was
yeah.
it?
Do you
Oh, I
know?
love his book. Yeah, I love his books. Yeah, I read a lot of his books. Yeah,
Yeah, I've read the one Life Leverage. It's a good one.
yeah,
Did you read
Life
that one?
Leverage. Yeah, I've read that one's great. Money is really good as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, he's good at what he does. But I would always leave feeling very uplifted and energetic. And the caveat here is like it's not all about woo woo energy, like feel good all the time kind of shit. Like, yes, you do get actual practical steps, like do this, don't do that. Okay, here's a system you could use for that. That's all there as well. But like honestly, what carried me most is how I felt. Like, okay, I feel good now. I believe I can do it. I'm with other people who are doing this, and that is invaluable. So if the person who's listening to us right now is kind of in that boat, just do a little audit on who's in your life and see if there's space for you to add more. Uh, find a community of people who are doing what you want to do. You should always take advice from somebody who is living a life you want. Don't take advice from someone who's not living a life that you would want to live. If for example, like your friends who are watching, the football and the boozer every weekend are telling you not to do this, or you should do it. Like, don't listen to them really. Like, they're not the best people to take advice from in that instance. You might want to listen to somebody who's walked the path you wish to walk. Um. So yeah. So the mentoring is big, man. Community.
So are you still part of different mentorship groups now and community groups now for yourself?
Yeah, so that's actually, well, I'm a part of. I've built up a very good network over the past 3 years. Like I have a very good network. I can reach out to like so many, and doing the podcast has been great as well to meet a lot of cool people. But I have a very good network, and I'm a part of a few communities. One of them is the Airbnb community where we help people go from 0 to 1 in the Airbnb space, which is great. And I'm very, like, I've literally built that business myself, so I can speak that language fluently. And I'm also sizing up a few other communities for myself to, like, as I build my podcast and my own sort of coaching business to help people go from 0 to 1 in with what's in their head, and just teach them kind of like the fundamentals of business rather than slamming property down their throat. I'm looking for there's a few different groups that I'm looking at getting in at the moment. But that's a top priority for me at the moment, actually. Yeah. What about you? Are you in any groups like that?
I was previously. I had been for years beforehand, and it was just actually for me. I felt very heavily for the whole business, entrepreneurial, self development lifestyle, and I fell very heavily for it from it because I didn't go to university. It wasn't a case of I didn't want to go to university, so I'm just gonna do what I want and chill out. It was right. No, that was the motivating fact for me. Is like now it's on me. Shit's real now.
Yeah.
So So I went for that, but it was a case of I did so much of it that I had to stop. Like I had to take a minute and be like, I had to take a minute and just think, right, is this all that there actually is? Is this what I want to be doing? Is this the only way? I had to see what else was enjoyable. And I had to find my way with that. I had to go and travel. I had to go and fuck around and I had to go and drink too much and do things I wasn't supposed to do to then realize, okay, now I understand what these guys are saying now. I understand why these things are useful now. I understand how these projects are just invaluable and having people around you are invaluable. And it's now building that up. But then the one thing I've seen from me, I don't abide by too much is that, yes, if you want this result, you have to do these certain things. If you want, like, well, you don't necessarily have to, sorry, misspeak. But this is the best way to get those results. And it's now coming to a way where I can be happy with what I want to do, where I can be the most value to other people, and what am I willing to sacrifice to get there, to do these things. And that's a journey which is a journey of a lifetime, I suppose. But it's finding these groups, finding these people, speaking to people like yourself. As I say, you've probably found the same thing as you just mentioned. The podcast is incredible for that. You speak to so many amazing people who've got their own ideas, and that brings me life to hear these from people like yourself.
Mm. Yeah, podcast is one of those weird things that can like get you into a room with people that you wouldn't otherwise be getting into a room with. Because you're just like, do you want to come on the pod? It's funny.
Yeah, people love talking about it, and I love hearing of it. I love listening to it because I when I read all these things and I studied all these things previously, part of the reason why I decided to take a step back from it all for a couple of years, or at least for a little bit of time, was because I realized that I thought that I knew it all. I thought that I knew it all, but then deep down I knew that wasn't the case. I knew that was obviously incorrect because there's so much to learn. There's so much that I haven't got and haven't figured out.
Sure.
So that now I can go into these podcasts and speak to people with a complete mind of whatever you have to say. I want to hear it. I want to examine it for myself and listen to it all and not impose or try my best not to impose my ideas on what I think is right. Because obviously you're living a life that I admire and you've got qualities which I truly love. I want to hear your story. I want to hear what you're up to and what you're doing with it.
Mm. Yeah. What do you think is like the thing that you're focused on most now with the pod and everything you're doing? What's priority number one?
Um, so I actually, I was speaking with Adam about this actually, that I've changed my what I'm optimizing for, and I can see how that's changed previously. Where beforehand I was optimizing for money, I just wanted the business, wanted the business, get the money,
Mm.
everything else to be sweet. Then I started optimizing for happiness and just happiness and pure
Mm.
happiness, and now I'm optimizing for enjoyment instead.
Oof.
So if I
Love
can
that.
squeeze in as much of what I really enjoy doing as possible, perfect. Build those
Mm.
systems and those plans and those routines and those automations so that I can do more of just what I enjoy doing. And if I can get good at doing that, say with the podcasts, as you've probably found, sourcing guests, doing a bunch of editing is not the fun part. The fun part is these conversations.
Yeah.
So if I can
Yeah. Yeah.
optimize
Yeah.
it to optimize the enjoyment so I can kind of try and outsource and systemize these other parts, amazing. So I can come into just doing potentially 5 to 10 per week. Great. Most enjoyment.
5 to 10 podcasts per week.
Yeah, happily. I'd happily sit there. I could sit there and
Love
talk to
that.
anybody for as long as possible, and you'd have to literally tell me you have to go. But
Nice.
that's the aim. What about for
Love that.
yourself?
I like the optimizing for enjoyment. Yeah. I my goal with the pod, I kind of question sometimes if the podcast that I do is like the best vehicle for actually serving the mission that I'm on, which is to help people realize that it's not that difficult and very much within their grasp to go from 0 to 1. Because as we've pointed out, people need hand holding to a large degree and just sort of help and reassurance going through that process. And a podcast is great. It provides for some good nuggets. It makes you maybe you just enjoy listening to it. But the real thing that I'm focusing on now is how to build out a framework so I can smoothly and efficiently turn people from nothing to something. People who want to make that next step. Because I've got so many messages, dude, from people listening to the pod and being like, "Oh man, I wish I just knew where to start. I don't know what to do. I hate my job, and but what if I leave? What if I won't have enough money for a while? Like all this stuff, man, all these fears because everyone gets to that point, but they just have a million reasons why they shouldn't do it in their head, and that's what I aim to like help people really get through. So right now, I'm focusing less on the podcast, meaning once every other week or so for now while I build that. And then that will kind of make everything make a bit more sense, I think, because on the podcast, I can just plug my own business and say, hey, if you actually want to do something about this and you're enjoying listening to the conversation, you want to take an actual step, here you go. Here's your
Mm.
option. Um, and so I think that will just kind of tie everything together nicely. So yeah, I'm just focusing on that for now.
Yeah, I love having the direct mission behind it, having that.
Mm,
So something you can, as a litmus test, you can, when you come to make a decision, does it align with that mission? And you can
mm,
confidently drop anything that doesn't fall in line with that if you want to,
mm.
and not have that fear of missing out or fear of regret, because you've already set
Yeah.
those goals, you've already got that idea beforehand. And
Mm.
it's great. I love to seeing what you're doing. I love the talks you do, the everything that comes out of your mouth is very inspiring to me, and if it is for me, I'm sure it is for a lot of other people as well. And I thank you so much for coming on and joining us today.
Thanks, dude. This is sick. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it. We'll sign it off there.